Hey guys, so today I wanted to go over the lower register of the flute. I really believe that if we can get our foundations right, then the rest of our tone will get easier and more fulfilled, okay? So one easy way to get our tone good is to think about what our embouchure, what our mouth is doing. So we've got to be nice and relaxed, any tension in there, and it's going to come out in our sound. Okay, the other thing I tell my students is to think of it more like an oval than a round. Okay, if you hold your hand out in front of you and you just blow across, I'm hitting all of my air here, aren't I, with that rounded shape. If I do my flute shape, I'm hitting my air about here, okay? So by doing that, I've already got more air going down my flute hole, which in turn will give me a fuller sound and a fluffy sound. Okay, another important thing is to remember not to overblow. I get that quite a lot. People think, oh well, because we're wasting air, I have to blow harder. Please don't blow harder. It will just get you fluffy tone in another way. Okay, so when we start off, we learn usually B, A, G and then C. So I think this is always a really good place for us to start with our tone exercise. So all I want you to do is play the most beautiful C you can. And then when you're happy, move on to the B. And the A. And the G. Now let's join them all up. And again. And by doing this exercise, I'm endeavouring to make them all equal or even, okay? If you've got a note that sticks out, that's the one you need to do more plays of, okay? Now, a lot of you are going to know the Trevor Y. Okay, now this is mine, this is from my student years, that's why it's the blue one. The modern one is white, I believe, and it's also got the advanced technique in the back. Okay, you can also get the tone book on its own. Now, what Trevor Y does is he's got exercises that tend to go chromatically because he wants us to focus on everything, which is similar to the French flute school with the Taffnel and Gobert, and then similar in some ways to the Massamois de la Sonorité. Okay, I'm going to choose to use Trevor just because this book allows us to explore later on technique, articulation and tuning, all important things. So in a way it's sort of a better buy in the long run. Please let me know if you know any more techniques that I haven't heard of, any more methods, please link me below, okay? So one of the first exercises that he uses, going from a B flat to an A. Okay, we start softer and we get louder. Now for me that was a little bit tight, so let's go again. Again, not perfect. Go again. Then we would do the same thing, except starting on a B flat, so going B flat, A, G sharp. And we would go further and further down, okay? Now you're going to notice once you get to around the low F, or F sharp, depending on your playing, you might find it gets a bit fluffier. This is where we need to start widening out our embouchure, okay? So I'm going to go from the G, G flat F. and you would go all the way down to your low C. So the reason we have to widen out is our air now has to travel further. You'll notice the more keys I'm putting on, the harder it is for my air to travel. So practicing any sort of variation of these would help. Another way we can go is to go in steps but keep the first note the same. So for example, Trevor White likes us to use the B natural as our reference tone. You pick whatever your best note is, okay? So I'll stick to the B, but we're going to go on a B and gradually get lower and lower. It'll make more sense when you hear it. And you would go on and on and on until you're going from B. And then we suggest probably go to a C. Although if you've got a B foot, you can go all the way down to a B if you wish, okay? Remember, you want to be nice and big in your sound, okay? So I've got a bit of a bad chest today, so I'm going to just roll my shoulders back and tuck them into my pockets a few times, okay? What this does is it helps to open up my chest and to help combat my breathlessness, okay? Brilliant, so that's just a few ways that we can do our tone exercise, okay? Another thing that I encourage my students to do is octave slurs. What this does, it allows us to place our air a bit better. Now, for the purpose of this video, we won't go too high, but I would expect you to go up to the high, well, not the high C, the sort of high C before your fingers change, because that's really getting you to control that middle bit as well, okay? And so on. So remember as well, when we're doing the E flat to the D octave as well, we've got that finger change to help us. Okay, that's why it's really important in our middle register to lift that top finger. Otherwise you're using a harmonic or a false fingering, it'll have a slight buzz to it. Okay, so these are just a few of the ways that we can explore our lower tone, okay? You can use scales as well to help you. You can do what you like. Okay, but just remember, it's about keeping your embouchure relaxed, your flute angle right. If I start trying to play my flute like this, suddenly not so good. Same thing if I try and do this. If I get in the right place so I can feel the middle of the hole in the middle of my lip. Much easier for me to play. Okay, the other thing in there is to remember to support. It's so important. Okay, the embouchure needs to get wider as we go lower, but all the time we need to have really good support in there. Think of it like the boat that keeps you floating on a lake. Think of it as a trampoline you can jump higher with. Okay, it allows us to control our flute more and to even it out. So one way we can go around this, as I explained in a previous video, is to do diaphragm bumps. Okay, now this is where we're giving it kick almost like we're laughing. These are the muscles that we want to use, okay? So this is an exercise. Did I pull it out? No. From the Peter Lucas Graft book. Again, you can use whatever you want. Please let me know of any books. So I'm going to do a G, and all you're going to do is pulse on it. But I would pick a B, an A, or a G, just because there are easier notes, but just pick whichever is your best note. Okay. Then faster. Faster again. And then as fast as you can. Now you'll hear, the faster I go, the more like vibrato it sounds. Now this is the technically correct way to do it. For now, I don't mind if you want to put it in or not. It's whatever suits you, okay? But by training my tummy muscles with this, I can really feel how much I can push. Another thing you could do is, what I make some of my students do, is to try and do sit-ups whilst playing your flute. Because you can hear how your sound concentrates when you come up. Okay, so for our lower register then, just to recap, we need to have a good flute angle, we need to have a good embouchure, and we always need to have a good tummy.